your lighting, driving your car, and the rest of it is all the products and services that come along to support our society. So we are completely and utterly responsible for this problem. And what can we do about it? Well, this is where it gets really, really, really difficult, because as individuals, we have almost no agency over the problem. You know, I'm seeing a couple of transition towners in the audience, and, you know, people that are grouping together to try to solve the problem in a creative way. But as individuals, there's a limit to what we can do. And even if you then said to a totally committed individual like the wonderful Dave Hampton standing to my right, who's utterly committed to this problem and been working on it for years and years and years, he still can't get down to zero. No way, as Alan said earlier, because maybe there isn't a bus stop anywhere near his house. The council aren't responding to his letters about the you know, whatever issue he has with composting, his waste, etc., etc., etc. And you find yourselves kind of stuck. And you think, well, all right, so who can I talk to about this? Do I write to my MP? Well, you know, what's the fat point of that? You know, who can I talk to? You know, networks, informal networks do start to develop, and the growth of social networking online has become a very powerful tool for us as citizens to start to address the problem. But as a percentage of the overall population who are committed to making a difference, we're still quite small. And so the mainstreaming of the green movement is clearly fundamental. The legislative drivers that have been touched upon are interesting, but it's very difficult to put sticks behind people. It's very difficult to charge people for polluting. Very, very, very difficult. Legislatively, almost impossible. You have to use softer measures, carrots, encourage people to go with you. And in case I'm rambling, because I'm getting some nasty stares at the moment, but what I would say is that for me, what we need to do is develop a sense of environmental citizenship. I often, a lot of my work is in inner London areas. I notice how disconnected young people are, children, from the provenance of food, you know, that very basic requirement that we have, or where does clean water come from? No understanding of water stress or just basic requirements. We've kind of lost that connection with nature, and that's really what brought me into this debate. I ended up working on carbon policy, but ultimately it was walking around the Lake District with my parents that brought me into this agenda. Now, a lot of children don't have that luxury. They don't ask the question, how was that mountain formed? What food do we get out of that animal there? And so that disconnection between the individual and the broader problem, couched as a kind of environmental sustainability problem, is really where it all sits. So I'm going to stop.
Okay. Pauline, what is the role of the public in reducing carbon emissions satisfactorily?
I'm going to be slightly controversial here. I don't entirely agree that we should all be going on a guilt trip and saying that, my God, you know, we are responsible for these emissions. I want to use clean energy. I just have a problem in that I can't get an electric car that runs off 100% clean electricity yet. We will get to a stage where we're getting clean electricity pumped in from the Sahara Desert coming into London and such like. We will have microgeneration and such like as well. We're not quite there. But to say that it's the individual to penalise essentially downstream the billions of people on this planet, I don't agree with that idea. I actually think it's about going upstream. 300 odd corporations who are creating 3/4 of the world's excess greenhouse gas emissions. That's where it has to stop, at source. Not my behaviour. I want to continue my good life, but I want what I'm using that generates the energy for my life, the electricity and such forth, to be clean. I want that at source stopped and made clean. Okay. That's where it needs to be targeted. I think this idea of having carbon emission reductions targets, individual, whatever we want to call it, QEDs, whatever, this is the wrong way around, completely the wrong way around. We're not going to get a buy-in for this. It's also about creating a kind of collective guilt. That's not the way about it. We actually need to be able to move forward, and move forward very fast, but move forward into a clean economy, a clean world, and that's really about tackling upstream. However, I do agree with Matt on one thing. This is about interconnectedness, the loss of connection with nature. It is about interconnectedness. It's about understanding that connection so that we aren't actually utilising without recognising there are consequences to everything. Even building CSP plants out in the desert, we still have consequences. It's about recognising those consequences.
Tom, what is the role of the public in reducing carbon emissions satisfactorily?
Well, I think it's bottom up, actually. And I think that because, as has been said on the panel before, companies ultimately are going to go where the money is. They're going to go where the customers are. And it's all very well to say to a CEO, this is the way forward, go for it. And him to say, or her, to say, okay, let's do it. And then do it, and then lose market share to their competitors as a result. They're going to do that, and then they're going to think, oh, that was a bit of a mistake. We'll go back to how we were before. So it's up to all of us as individuals to think consciously about every purchasing decision we make. Is this company a good company? Are they doing something good? What are they going to use my money to do? How are they going to use my money? And make sure that every decision you make in terms of what you buy, you're happy that your money is going to support that activity. And the same really applies to the rest of your life. As individuals, we need to look about doing everything with a clear consciousness of what the outcome will be. So, what am I buying? Who am I voting for? What job do I take? This is another thing that I often see people are very conscious of their purchasing power, but not very conscious of their working power. I think we should all look at what jobs we're in and acknowledge that 40 hours of our week are working towards an ideal, and does that ideal really fit with our own personal preference, our own personal beliefs, our own hope for a better future, a greener future.
Excellent.
And if it's not, then we need to find one that is. And if everyone walks out of the companies that have not cleaned up their act, then those companies will disappear. And companies need to make sure that they're focused on a green future so that they can sell their products in a green marketplace and also attract good staff who want to be part of that greener future.
Thank you. Alan, what is the role of the public in reducing carbon emissions satisfactorily?
I think it would be a very interesting exercise if some people in this room committed to living the next year only using the products for sale in this show. Because if actually there's a house somewhere, there's cars, there's clothes, there's food, more or less you probably will pull it off, yeah, and then actually measure the carbon footprint of that lifestyle. Be really interesting. I'm not saying that as a clever comment, but a really interesting exercise to see, is the answer in this room, and all we need are 20 million households like this, or is there another layer we need to go? And I think the reason why I say that is deep down we know that citizens can make a huge difference. You know, we can go on less holidays, we can eat less meat, we can throw away less food, we don't have to buy tomorrow's iPod or tomorrow's plasma TV. The problem is, other than probably most of the people in this room, for the other 60 million, it's really boring. Yeah, it's just not cool. It's commercially difficult for the economy. You know, 2% recession has got the government in utter panic. Yeah, so using 2/3 of the stuff we use to currently live our lives, which is what we need, is a recession of 66%, unless we do things in a different way. And I think what we need to do, and this is a good place to start, is what does a sustainable lifestyle look like, which is cool, hip, fashionable and fun? Yeah, and meet the principles in this room. At the moment, the sustainable lifestyle narrative is all not this, not that.
Comment. But let's have some questions and comments from the floor on the role of the public in reducing carbon emissions. Gentlemen